Welcome back to FBW Gaming, guys. I am Biscuit Weasel, and as always, guys, got my good buddy Flare over here. What's going on, Flare?
Hi, I'm good. I'm no longer at the beach now. I'm in this cold, dark, miserable place. It's called Kentucky.
Yeah, we're 100% snow here on Thursday as well. So I want to say thank you guys for coming to game with us. As always, guys, we wouldn't be here without you. Please take just a few minutes or just a few seconds to like the video. Make sure you share it with your alliance mates. Give the channel a subscription if you haven't already. Today we are going to be talking about how to blitz effectively, and as always, we pretty much have our really good friend Crash here with us. As a 970-day player, he has a very unique outlook on the game, because we all started alt accounts to kind of see what the early game looks like for new players, and so we're going to be talking about how to blitz effectively. Well, Crash, like we always say, is I don't know if you're just a glutton for punishment or you actually just like hanging out with us, but thanks for being here.
Always. A little bit of both, by the way.
All right, so Blitz is pretty much like the #1 way that Scopely is releasing characters right now, and we have to deal with that right now.
Yep.
So because of that, Blitz has become an ever more and more important part of working on characters and getting character shards, especially early on. And so you have people that start off brand new and they ask, how do I, how do I score? Yeah, get these scores in Blitz and stuff like that. How do I blitz effectively? And before we kind of do anything, we need to set some expectations. Blitz in and of itself rewards a large roster in terms of development. And so there's kind of three things to it. The amount of time that you've put into the game, whether that be actual man hours or your dollar bills, your wallet, the size of the roster itself, so your TCP, and then also how you're blitzing. If you're doing things in 2-hour rotations, if you're rotating around a certain tier in Blitz, all of these factors will matter in terms of scoring larger and larger values of points. We were talking before we started the video, and Biscuit and I both scored around 16 million. And as we're recording this, the last big Blitz we had was Bishop. We both scored about the 16. I think you scored 16. I think I was close to 17, 17.
Yeah.
I could have hit 18 if I had done all my rotations. And then Crash here, you just hit a stupid large amount.
First time I completed the milestones, it says, yay, hey, you completed all the milestones. Now you have a chance at like 100 shards, and then you get whatever the other rewards are. The very first time I saw that, I thought, holy cow, I finished the milestones. I'm going to get 100 shards of this character. That's not how that happens, guys. Just know, once you complete the milestones, there are different tiers and based on that tier, you'll get X amount of shards for that tier.
Further and further on as you go, by the time you complete the milestones, when you finish the milestones, it's congratulations. Do you want a cookie? Because you're not even a fifth of the way through the Blitz at this point.
No,
where we're at right now.
No. And so what you guys are seeing in the background, this is my roster. And it's not as balanced as I would personally like, but as we've talked, if you guys haven't watched our videos before, we've talked resource management, we've talked investment stopping points, and I've learned a lot from doing those videos, and so I'm being very more intentional with my roster now, about when I build certain characters. So as you progress through the game, you're going to have different teams at different levels for very different reasons. High Blitz scores are a result of time and wide rosters. And then our second point, Flare, is going to be what?
Effectively blitzing!
So, Crash, walk us through how you do a blitz rotation. How do you manage your blitz rotations? How are you so efficient?
When I start, basically you use your whole roster. That is what Blitz is about. using your entire roster as efficiently as possible. Fortunately, with the new patch and the Astonishing X-Men coming out, and even the Shadowland rework coming out, it actually expanded my roster from just before the Bishop Blitz, which was awesome for me because it gave me a chance to kind of push it. It expanded my roster from 28 teams to 30 teams. And in reality, I have 31 teams based on the amount of characters I have unlocked. But that 31st team is kind of the cast-offs of who's the highest level Hand Ravager and Kree guys or AIM guys that I'm not using is basically what that ended up being. And that team still has value because what you do is those people that you haven't fully invested in, or the characters that you that don't have a lot of synergy or don't have teams, even kind of like we talked about in your synergy team video that we did, is they still have value in that you get through the lower levels with them. So if I can win a battle with them, then that's one battle I don't have to win with a better team. And so now, because I have 31 teams, I can actually, as long as a mistake doesn't happen, I can get all the way to 8.3 in one rotation now. And given the width of my roster and the way I've built it, and having these 30 teams on my save squads, that even allows me, as you said, it kind of crushes the milestones. I get 1,000,000 points the first time, and then I get to begin all of my sequential rotations in 8.3. So that's the best way to start. Use your guys, use your low guys, use your small guys, use your not built up guys who can win in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and win the cheap, the very ineffective point fights with them, and then that way when you get to your higher power guys, they're actually winning you some points. That would be the first tip. Number 2 is then from there, figure out where your teams work. Okay, so me being, again, a late game player, you guys are going to have to change the thing, by the way. By the time we do, you either post this video or the next video that we decide to do together, I will be at 1,000 days playing. So because I've played so many days, I have a roster that has 30 teams that can win on tier 8 most of the time. So my suggestion is find where your teams win. And in particular, where do not your top teams win, where do the lower teams win? So your top 4 teams, or even 6 teams, if you really want to go there, or 8 teams potentially, whatever your teams can win in the highest tier, that's great. But you want to have teams that can win in the tier below that. So say you guys, for instance, have 8 teams that can win in tier 7. Hopefully teams 9 through 12 can win in tier 6. And then hopefully 13 through 16 can win in tier 5. Mm-hmm. And so if that is the case, then what you guys want to do is you want to, win up to tier 5, win with those bottom 4 teams, get to tier 6, win with those middle 4 teams, get to tier 7, win with your, win with 4 more, and then lose with one of those teams that only got you the easy points early because you're not going to use them again because they're not effective, and then win in tier 7 again. And so that if you can find a rotation within your roster where you are winning on tier 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is that works for you, and you keep your teams there, find that sweet point. And we've talked about that with our alt accounts, is we've kind of found the sweet point between tier 5, tier 6 in the Blitz. And so if we can win with 6, 8 teams in the highest tier that they can possibly win in, then you're going to maximize your Blitz score.
I like dropping down all the way to 5 and then building back up, but I'm still using the teams at the different levels I know they can win at, because of the tier and the investment level I put into them.
Well, and that's a big deal. I mean, even though that sounds kind of weird, so those teams that you were talking about that win in tier 5, they don't win in tier 6, right? So they're definitely not going to win in tier 7 or tier 8. So if you yourself stay in tier 8, you are sacrificing points from 8 teams, right? Your tier 5 and your tier 6 teams, and even maybe some of your tier 7 teams that can't win in tier 8. You're sacrificing all of those points. And so, yes, you're getting less points because you're not fighting in tier 8. But guess what? I'm not losing points because they are not going to win in tier 8 anyway. So if I drop down to that tier 5 and win up, then I'm getting points that I wouldn't get just by staying in tier 7 or tier 8. So there is value in getting as much points as you can where you can.
And so I would start at that tier 4 and I would work my way up. Sometimes I could hit to tier 8 and that was great. And like Biscuit, you know, now I'm at the point where I start at tier 5 for that bottom kind of under the rug teams are like, maybe this will work. Hopefully this will work at tier 5. Oh, well, that didn't work at tier 6. Okay. And that will build up and up and further. And as I slowly bring up the bottom of my roster, they'll start winning more and more at tier 6, tier 7. And oh, hey, I'm rotating around 7 and 8 for a while now. So
yeah, and so kind of the reverse is true though too, right? If you have teams that can win in tier 7 and tier 8 and you're not winning up to tier 7 and 8 constantly, then you are sacrificing points. You know, so that's kind of where the the wide roster comes in. And even kind of the balance of the, okay, you know, and maybe that's where our tier comes in, right? Those level 30 guys can probably win on tier 4. Those level 45 guys can probably win on, 4, 5, and 6. And then you've got those level 60 guys that can win on 7 and 8, depending on the synergy. And maybe that's how your team's look. And obviously the power levels are, corresponding to that, and that just helps you build. So you want your best teams winning in the best tier that they can, but you also want your lower teams winning too. You've got to there's a balance in there to maximize the points it needs. And if you don't know what tier they'll win, find a blitz you don't really care about and just practice. I mean, I know that sounds silly because a lot of people don't necessarily want to play this game more than they already do, but practice makes perfect. I mean, that works in pretty much anything in life, and building your teams and changing characters around and practicing in blitz tiers is no different. I actually changed my team in the middle of the bishop run because it just wasn't working. If something works, you use it. If it doesn't, then you don't use it.
Blitz charges. When I first started blitzing, I didn't know what these things were. I came from a game that you hoarded everything all the time. And so now we've got, they give you these, what they call blitz charges, and they're basically free, and they let you refresh your teams to be able to do more and more battles. So when should I be using those blitz charges? And if so, like, how often do I use them?
Right. Yeah. And that's something that I've talked to people about. They use them on their low teams to get to the high tiers, and that's not necessarily the most effective way. I realize you're trying to get the points up higher, but the reality of it is, though, you want to use those to maximize your points. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, maybe you're in that. So there's different ways to use charges and be effective. If you're kind of in that middle stage point, so kind of where we are on our alts, we just said that our lower teams can win in tier 4, tier 5. Our higher teams can actually win in tier 7, tier 8. The problem is we don't have enough teams built to get there. So sometimes if I'm using charges on my alt, I'll win with my teams through tier 5, get to tier 6, and then I have 4 very solid teams that I can build there. And sometimes I use charges for all 4 of those teams, and I win through 6, I win through 7, and then I start winning on 8 with some of them, and then I might lose down if I get bad matchups or something like that, just to maximize my score. So you can do it that way. I've got 5 or 6 teams that can win on tier 8, but I only have those same 5 or 6 teams that can win in tier 7. So maybe you use those charges to get those wins in tier 7 or 8. Kind of as you have 15, 20 teams, 30 teams, what you want to do is you want to save the blitz charges for your teams that can win in tier 8.3. And that's either full teams that can win in 8.3 or your top 15, 20, 25 characters, however many charges you have, to win an 8.3. And sometimes that doesn't work. There have been times where your top 25 characters, you've got 3 or 4 really good ones, and then the other ones are just unfortunately you pulled a 6 red star on a Koye or something, and so
Rip.
they're not great. So if you don't have like a Black Bolt or an Ultron or something to carry them, you don't want to just throw her on the team because she's not really going to benefit. So it's just a matter of how your roster's built. But to maximize your score, use your charges in tier 8.3 with the teams or the characters that you know can do it, and do it either the last rotation of the day. So for instance, we are Eastern Standard Time, and the game resets at 7. So we get a new Blitz at 7 p.m. We have 2 rotations before the server reset at 11 p.m. So we if you start at 7, you've got 7, or that's rotation 1, and then you can do a rotation at 9. And then that's it. Like the next 2 hours, then you have a 2-hour cooldown and you're into the next day. So use your charges then. If your time zone varies and your game reset varies, then you fill in the blanks based on that. And then another thing that I do is after that 11 p.m. reset, for blitzes that I really care about, the new character blitzes like Bishop, I do my 7 o'clock blitz, I do my 9 o'clock blitz, and then I stay up to wait for that reset. After I use my charges after my 9 o'clock blitz, and then I get that 11 o'clock blitz, and then I use my charges then because I go to bed. So if you're going to have a long period, which you can't blitz, so some people that play this game can maybe do that 7, 9, and 11, but then or they can. Depending on your time frame, maybe you can blitz 3 or 4 times, and then you got to go to work, or you got to keep your kids, or and there's 5 or 6 hours, 8 hours in the day that you just can't touch your game. Do your charges before that. The reason I don't like doing the charges in the middle is because it completely changes your time frame. So if you are trying to do that every 2-hour sequence, you're trying to blitz every 2 hours to maximize your score, and you throw some charges in there, well, then it's not 2 hours, it's 2.5 hours. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes because you've got a team that's now, a few minutes out that you didn't have before potentially.
Also, and here's the reality, like I said, most of the characters are released now via Blitz. For us that care about these characters, we have 2-hour timers, and that's a reality of the situation. So like, all 3 of us have joked around having 2-hour timers. Point with this, and we've been talking about this. The whole kind of series of these videos we've been doing is on building your rosters efficiently. And this is really kind of where it's all mattering is Blitz. The most points you get is by building your teams efficiently. We've mentioned about pillars, and we've mentioned about high value characters. And these are characters that you can kind of, characters like Ultron, you can slap into a team with garbage, or at the very least high value garbage, like the characters that don't have a home but you still have had to gear up for one point or another. You throw those characters with Ultron, and Ultron carries the team. The Zemo Hydra team, you build up Zemo, and Zemo's going to pretty much do most of the work on the team. The rest of the characters can be a little bit lower, but as long as your pillar characters are at the gear levels they need to do the job they're supposed to do, they're going to win at a specific tier, and that's important. The rest of the characters like Winter Soldier and Kingpin on the Zemo team don't matter really. Yeah. So understanding the pillar characters, your most important characters on the team, and you can probably ask a content creator or people in Discords and forums. If you go and check out our Discords, their links are in the description. You can ask, hey, I'm wanting to work on this team. Who are the priority characters? And you people will say this character, this character, this character. Right. You focus on those characters, you're gonna get the job done with that team in Blitz as well. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, again, it's time, it's investment, it's 2-hour timers.
And building the teams balanced. So that's all we have time for today, guys. Crash Man, thank you as always for joining us and imparting your wisdom to us young ones.
We appreciate you all coming out and joining with us. And also we've got a bunch of other videos. We've got, like you said, we've had kind of this little series on efficiency and gearing characters. We have one on the gear tiers and ability levels. We have one on the teams and where you should probably take them. We also have just discussions on stuff. We have a stream highlight from last week that was Biscuit and me talking with a bunch of our buddies about Scopely
and
saying
things
hey,
that are wrong in the game.
There was salt thrown and all that other stuff. So go and check out some of those videos. We'll have some of those in the eyeball up in the corner.
Yeah.
And obviously we're doing blog posts and stuff like that. Tons of stuff around here. Share it with your alliance mates. Hopefully you all have yourselves a wonderful day.
Absolutely.
Biscuit, Crash,